welcome to the special edition of Daily World TV. I'm Ajit Chak, your host for the day, and with me is Kal Korff here, who's an expert on issues related to the United States of America. And Kal is here today because we're going to ask him as to what exactly is going on in American society right now, because apparently there's a lot of unrest in America regarding the immigrants issue. And it has manifested itself today in a very ugly form in the fact that a Hyderabad techie was shot dead in a bar in Kansas City by a Navy veteran, 50-year-old man carrying a gun, who actually asked him to get out of his country and then shot him and another Indian boy who was with him. Plus, he also injured severely an American boy who tried to intervene and save the two Indians. Apparently, this Navy veteran had mistaken the two Indians for Arabs or Middle Easterners and Muslims and then shot them. There is something very serious going on in American society right now, and it has nothing to do with just Donald Trump. Kal, would you tell us something as to what exactly is going on in America right now that is leading to this kind of violence and hatred?
Yeah, Ajit, first of all, I think everyone would agree that it's right to condemn what had happened. It's never acceptable. But as you said, it's not the only time this has happened. The irony of America is that, and being an American, I can say this from firsthand experience, the irony of America is that it is a nation of immigrants. It was founded by immigrants, essentially, illegal actually. They just killed the native population there, Native American Indians. But the cultural ignorance and geographic ignorance is palpable. I heard many jokes when the Iraq War was started by George Bush that Americans learned geography by bombing other countries. There's many videos you can see on YouTube where they show a map, even labeled, to Americans, and they say, "Where is Australia?" And they can't find it. It's ridiculous. And then there's the stereotype that everyone who wears a turban is either Iranian or must be a Taliban. So there is no excuse for this. I'm not really into the sensitivity thing. I think it's gone way overboard in the left-wing liberal sense, like there's these so-called safe spaces now on college campuses. But to be honest, I wish our educational system would at least educate people enough so that they understood basics of world geography and cultural, differences. In many schools now, Ajit, in even small districts in states like Iowa, you have over 100 different languages being spoken by the students. Yet the government and the states have failed to account for that, and somebody sitting next to somebody in class doesn't even know what that individual is unless they happen to become friends. Or maybe they hear something through the grapevine and you don't know whether it's true or not. As far as this individual being former military, could have been that he had post-traumatic syndrome. I don't know. Maybe he was drunk. I don't know enough details yet. But this is not the first time. You may remember Sikhs have been attacked. And they're peaceful people, essentially. They're not members of the Taliban. But this ignorance can never be excused. And even though Trump had nothing directly to do with it, we have to admit, and his supporters must admit if they're going to be honest, that right-wingers, extremists, haters have used the support for Trump and the fact he's in the White House now as a sort of license to go after anybody they want. Look at what's happened with the Jewish community lately. They've had the cemetery sabotage, bomb threats at centers, to the point where Muslims now, who are pro-Sharia, are now raising money to help the Jews. So what's happening in America is out of control. But you have to ultimately blame the government as well, because we must remember that one of the promises that Barack Obama made was he said in the first year of office he would pass a comprehensive immigration reform bill. He repeated that promise the second year he was in office. He became so cynical about it, he didn't even bother submitting a plan during some of the years he was in office. And while immigration problem has always been there, Trump's response to it has been less than perfect. It's been very bad. Look at the executive order he passed. It affected green card holders. He had to go back and retrofit it.
Exactly.
And yet these people have been vetted. Now he's issued a new one, And the court has asked him to give us the proof that these 7 nations, which Obama had blacklisted previously, are a threat to America, and Trump hasn't supplied that proof. He's made erroneous statements about what's going on in Sweden, okay, using selective choice of data. So when the President of the United States doesn't get his facts straight, when the government has inherited a mess, you have racism and tension going on, you've got panic at the border of Mexico, you've got even Mexico fueling it. They were talking about setting up internment camps for people who go back across the border because they don't know where to hold these people. It's an epidemic of panic fueled by underlying racist tones, and you add the ingredients together and you have dead bodies. And so there is no simple solution except education of the truth. And in today's era of fake news, perpetuated by the mainstream media as well as the extremist media, it's going to be a long time before this settles down, and more people are going to die, unfortunately.
Well, thank you, Kal, and you rightly raised the issue that the media has a vital role to play in all this.
Yes.
But apparently it seems that the US media has abdicated that role, which is extremely unfortunate.
Yeah, it's like if they're going to pick their fights and causes, they should do a better job. I mean, you've got fake news fact checkers now, and they're part of the problem. You've got Google now delisting out of their index websites that they don't agree with, and Google has so much power that amounts to censorship. So we're in for a whole lot of hurt before it gets better. It's going to take, I fear, years to do it. And this, by the way, one last thought, is before Donald Trump starts enacting his new plan in Syria, which is probably going to not be a straight connect, meaning he talks about how he's going to defeat ISIS. It's not that easy. It's going to cause more backlash against refugees, even what Merkel is doing in Germany now that she's losing in the polls. She's still bringing in a lot more of them, although the German government is bending over backwards now saying, oh, we've deported this number of people today. Bottom line is the fundamentals are still there. The problems, nobody has come up with a right solution because honestly, it forces everyone to look themselves in the mirror, and a lot of people do not like what they see and they spin it. And whenever you spin truth, you have disaster, especially on serious issues.
Thank you, Kal. Thanks.
Thank you, Rich.